Hello, beautiful souls. It is January 2nd, 2026. So, literally just finished a video talking about something else that I was called to do right after I was done working out. Did a workout today. My last workout was like on the 27th or something like that. So that has changed. So talked a little bit about in that video. I do not do many videos here on this platform talking about fitness and wellness and all of that unless it's pertaining to this awakening process, and that I'm guided to have these conversations. And so you're getting the messy post-workout hair up, hoodie over the sports bra, and my shorts, my wool socks, the kiddos here. So a source is going to come in for this video, so you're going to be receiving my frequency and energy, my wisdom, my history. In this particular video that I did try to do this video a couple of months ago, I was guided to sit down. I did a live video on YouTube, 101 on the timer. And I did the video while I had started this frequency family, Divinely Aligned Collective, sharing my real, raw, messy self. Here, recording conversations, sharing my wisdom, my knowledge, my stories, and this is day 53, I believe. Day 53 of 111 days of sharing this, okay? And so going back to, I did this live video talking about the history of my nutrition and my health and wellness, as far back as I could remember in being in the industry, and it wouldn't post. So I had a conversation basically to the ethers. I sent that information out to the field, but again, I wasn't able to share it. It literally would not post all day. So it wasn't meant to be. And I didn't feel called to sit and have this conversation then like I am now. 202 on the timer. So if you hear me call out numbers, please know that these are signs, synchronicities, and key codes that your higher self and your team is sending you these information. You key coded yourself as activations, as information, or just confirmation to know that there's might be some information in here for you. And again, always take what resonates and leave what does not. And just know that you're receiving this for your highest and best good, always through divine light, divine love, divine truth, divine wisdom, and divine power. And again, I don't worry about how clear the picture is here. I just sit down and hit record. Like I said, post-workout, literally post-workout. And I did the first video and I thought that was it. And I was guided to hit and do this video. Again, it is January 26th. So there's no surprise that I was guided to sit and have these conversations, because right now the fitness industry and the nutritional industry and the drug all of it that is encompassing of that, without going into the small aspects, is being thrown in your face as a form of programming, conditioning, and all of the stuff. And I think there's a reason why I was guided to sit down, whether you receive this today, in a week, in a month, in 6 months, or even next year. You will receive this information in perfect timing when you are meant to receive this, when you are ready to receive this. And if you're not and you're just curious, maybe tuck it away, put it in a folder, and revisit it when you feel called you're to revisit. So going back to the signs, synchronicities, and key codes, I'm going to rattle off some more numbers before I go into this. So 1, 2, 3, that progression number came up twice during my workout. 911, it's that fast moving energy. So look at the angel, sometimes they're called angel numbers. You can say spiritual numbers. There you'll get some information that might be different. 1811, and then of course the 111. We're still in that 111 portal that yesterday, and then we've got the full moon tomorrow. So again, you might be having some emotional purging right now, maybe some physical purging, and then the 5555 also has been showing up. So again, these are just signs, synchronicities, and key codes to let you know that there might be some information for you here, or that you heard me say that, but the next video you listen to, whatever you're paying your attention to, maybe you're listening to another channeled message or a tarot reading, and they say, if you see these numbers, and then you've heard me say it. So it can go either way, okay? So hopefully everyone's doing well. Take care of your body, listening to your body. And again, what I talked about in the other video, not telling your body what it needs to do, how it needs to eat, but listening to it honestly, and then doing the healing work that has put you into position why you continue to chase these things in this particular industry, why I'm having this conversation. You probably will not see most of these videos here on this platform. I don't know that in the future, but I definitely know I thought at one point this was what I was going to be doing forever. not the plan. My soul has other plans, and I still think my soul still has other plans. So I just surrender to trying to figure out the ego mind. I'm like, just quit trying to figure it out. What's coming next, what you're going to be doing as you move forward. You've just had, this is just part of the education and the schooling and the wisdom that you're gaining that's for your toolbox that you might be able to pull out for future things, for whatever you are going to be doing moving forward. So I apologize, I've got a little drainage, which is normally, again, more third eye, throat chakra. Mine's very mild, and usually it happens in the morning, so I just have this little cleansing purge. But it's a little annoying because I'm constantly kind of wiping or blowing my nose. All right, so we're getting to the point. So this video, we're 6 minutes in, and what is the point of this video? The point of this video is I'm going to share my remembrance and information and downloads and channeling of my nutritional and fitness journey. So buckle up, get ready, maybe take this in chunks because it might take a while. We'll see how this rolls out. So, hi, welcome. Breathe. I know, I feel like I'm a tsunami sometimes of information. And so the kiddo's here, so you'll probably see him pop in and out whenever he feels called to share his frequency and energy with you and his goofy silliness. And that's meant to be, okay? And that's just not worrying about that. Like maybe some people that are so worried about their content creation that can't happen. They have to redo and redo. Just keep it real, keep it raw, keep it messy, magical, all of it, okay? So I come from, again, past lives. Again, a lot of what's going on in this lifetime is definitely past life stuff that's been brought forward, energies, debris, also generational stuff. So a lot of things are being cleared generationally. But for me personally, I was severely, emotionally, physically, mentally abused as a child, young person, and through my whole life. And that stems into the parts of why I landed, I think, in the industry I did, and things that I chased and thought were broken, and then coming back to self and healing those aspects of my inner child, okay? So it's an evolution, okay? And so going from that and growing up, we grew up with gardens. Like my grandparents grew everything you could grow in Michigan in their yard. Massive gardens, all the fruits and vegetables you could grow. So I was raised with that. Very wholesome, nutritional, come from hunters. So there was hunting involved. So basically that particular type of upbringing to a certain point. We didn't have a lot of junk food in our house. We didn't go out to eat a lot. There was a lot of whole nourishing foods that were provided in our house. 8:08 on the timer. At some point, I think it was in the middle school area, I basically went through a period during puberty where I gained a bunch of weight, but I think, and then that was part of an over consuming of food because I was stuffing myself, because again, there's healed on aspects of self, right? I was an abused child. And at that point still to different levels and different degrees. So I resonate with that. Okay. So maybe you will also resonate with this information and come from that background as well. All right. Or there's somebody in your life that has, and then this is giving you some information to have more depth and of understanding and compassion. Okay. So I went through a phase where you might call it the fat kid phase, picked on and bullied. But I was picked on and bullied and attacked my entire life by physical forces and unseen forces. And I didn't realize that even up until this past year, that I was energetically attacked my entire life because of my frequency and energy that I hold. So get aware of the spiritual realm outside of this physical reality. Because that, when you become more aware, and there's knowledge is power, I've always said knowledge is power, you can adjust and attune and send intentions to protect yourself a little better. So anyways, gained a bunch of weight, and then in an unhealthy way, my abuser paid me to lose weight between middle school and high school, like paid me. So then I ended up anorexic, so I starved myself. It was a form of control, and that control started there, and it stemmed there, and it continued. I lost my period, and my mother took me to the doctor at the time, and I lost my cycle because I wasn't nourishing myself. I was starving myself for a lot of reasons that I didn't really know outside of just trying to lose fat, which was a form of protection. That's why I put that on. It was an armor. Does this resonate? Does this sound familiar? And the doctor, and I was sexually active at the time. I was sexually abused as a child, but that's not what I'm talking about here. And the doctor wanted to do a physical exam, and I said, no, I refuse. It's because I don't know if I completely opened up to the why behind that, but it was because I had starved myself. I wasn't nourishing my body. My body couldn't produce the hormones it needed to have a cycle. That only happened twice in my entire life, and the last one happened in 2017. No, it was in 2018. And if I don't forget, I'll try to touch base on that. So then basically I rebounded. So I constantly went through this binge restrict cycle when it came to food and to life and to fitness. But the fitness wasn't really part of it. It was basically more food and life choices. At the time, it was more all in binging and restricting, making unhealthy choices in all aspects. And then again, continuing to struggle with the control of what I was eating, how I was eating, how much I was eating, different things like that. And that went on for years. I didn't get that under control until, I don't know, probably in the past 7 to 10 years. Again, I don't know time frame because I've jumped so many timelines. I've quantum leaped so much. I've shape shifted so much. So I will do my best to recall what I meant to recall and share with you here, the collective, and who's here to receive this conversation, this message, the frequency, this energy. And so I basically left my home. I moved out very rapidly in with what was my then high school boyfriend, who was already out, but it was a form of escapism. I didn't realize that then, like I do now, of escaping that particular circumstances and situation. And it was still just doing life, like working a full-time job. College was never really my thing. I really couldn't get into that, didn't do great. So I basically worked full-time in a grocery store, became a manager, and did that for many years. I got pregnant with my first child, and still struggled with the anorexic tendencies and the binge and restricting tendencies. And then bulimia came in because I had suffered severely with both of my children with morning sickness. So I couldn't keep anything down. I went from consuming, growing up, a really wholesome type of a nutritional protocol to being out on my own and just consuming all of the shit most of the time, the drinking, the all of that stuff, and the working full time, surviving, basically working to survive and, get pregnant, and then all of these life circumstances, and getting married in there, and having a home, and again, being a parent, and being really sick at the time too, and then ended up with these struggles with binging and restricting, again, in the forms of either anorexic type tendencies or bulimic type tendencies. Again, these are all stemming from what happened beforehand. Again, so I went through my 20s still just trying to figure life out as we do life in life, and going through the lessons and working through stuff, and ended up getting a divorce, leaving my daughter's father, because I just knew that there's this, and again, looking back in that higher perspective, that macro perspective, I just needed more. I wanted more. There was more to life than I knew at that time. Like, I knew it like so deep in my bones. I just didn't know then what it was. Again, moved over into this area. My son's father, went through that life and experience as well, got pregnant with him. Like I said, got into the industry, got certified in 2010. There's a lot in there. I'm not filling in the gaps. But again, just going through these different nutritional protocols at the time, getting into the industry, or actually introduced into the industry from a small gym before I actually moved over here that I worked for, working with other nutritional coaches and personal trainers, and just, again, doing it all what I would say wrong at the time. But was it wrong? It was just part of the journey. and then ended up coming over here and said, okay, because I never really fit into that 9-to-5 job. Like I said, the longest job I think I held was working in the grocery store as the manager, and I did really well. I thrived very well in that position. But after that, it was just always trying to figure out what my passion was. And when I fell into this gym aspect, I felt like that was like a calling for me. So then when I moved over here, I'm like, what am I going to do? Like, what do I want to do? I'm just not built to be a 9-to-5er. I've just have never been that particular. That just doesn't work for me. Does that resonate? And some of you might be finding that now after being in a job for 20 or 30 years or 15 years. You're like, that's not what I fucking want to do anymore. It's soul sucking. So I found a passion into this, and I went deep. I like dove deep into it. I mean, I got certified. I set up programs. I was teaching classes. I had all of the clients. I was teaching all the classes, doing all the protocols. You know, I was busy, got pregnant for him, and that slowed right down because I stayed at home with him, and I would work when I was able to work. And again, I was really sick during the pregnancy, so that made a challenge but I did work out when I could with him. So I had, again, still struggling with some tendencies, but right before I got pregnant for him, I had a major injury, and I couldn't walk for 3 months. I tore or ripped or strained my psoas muscle, and then I've had a lot of injuries again, of course, over the years, as we do in the industry, which are related to a lot of different things. And I was introduced to juicing. Like the first juicer I was introduced to was like a centrifugal juicer. And when I went into stuff, I got in and I went deep into it. Like it was a control thing. I went deep into certain protocols and different things like that. And I went deep into getting into greens powders, and then, you know, going in, getting curious and finding about what veganism and raw veganism is, and fruitarianism and juicing and fasting. And I got results, and I was able to reduce the inflammation at that time with certain protocols. But when I got pregnant for him, I couldn't eat like that anymore. I couldn't eat the big salads. I couldn't eat the way I was eating because I was needing more at the time. But I was so stuck in this paradigm, in this programming, that this is the only way of getting results or holding on to results or whatever, that I think we struggled during the pregnancy, him and I both. And what I know now, if I would, again, I say I wouldn't change anything, but for that I may have changed some things. But again, I was sick the entire pregnancy. I literally remember being on the table because it was a scheduled C-section, because my first C-section with my daughter was an emergency C-section that was dire. And that was a massive healing process because we ended up with infection. That's a whole nother story, maybe for a whole nother time. So it was scheduled for him. And as soon as they literally cut him out of me, cut that cord, the nauseousness went away. But I was on medication, which I struggled with, to help me keep stuff down because I wasn't able to keep anything down. I literally went from eating whole foods, plant-based, raw veganism, salads, juicing, all of that, back to trying to figure out meats and dairies and just food in general to stay down. So again, nursing him for 16 months, and then going back to the veganism type lifestyle. And again, this was not using soy or tofu because I didn't really know any of that. I just know whole foods veganism at that time. That's all I knew. Fruitarianism, veganism, whole foods veganism at the time. And I tried to make that fit, and it just was never really fitting very well. I was struggling still, again, with other unhealed aspects, again, with my weight fluctuating and my fitness and all of the stuff. And then transitioning and moving out, because that just was, again, I got to the point where, like, this is not what I want for the rest of my life. It was not working. Our relationship just was not, I was evolving. In both of my relationships, I was evolving, and they were okay with being still, standing still, or staying where they're at and content and comfortable with that. And that's not who I am at a soul level. And that's why I had to move on. And yes, it's not great for the dynamic, but again, what also is not great for a dynamic is staying with somebody for 20 years that you cannot stand just to stay around for the kids. I never understood that dynamic either. Okay, because remember, when I came here, I also came here to bring generational cycles and curses, and that was part of it. Staying in relationships that were unhealthy, or with partners that you're not meant to stay with, but you're doing it because of what society might think, or you're doing it because of the children, or whatever other bullshit reason you're doing it. versus just leaving. And yes, it's painful and uncomfortable, it's part of the journey, but in the long run, it's healthier for both parties involved, all parties involved, including the children. Okay, so at that point, so again, coming here, I've been in this space now for 10 years. February 2015, and so 2025 was the end of that cycle. We're still here. It's 2026. I believe in my bones that I would be surprised if we're still here next year. But again, I don't know what source has planned. I don't know what my soul has orchestrated at this point. There's a lot of divine timing and orchestration going on in the background that I'm unaware of. So again, moving back in here again, I'm still following a raw vegan or vegan protocol. And just following, going through those motions, a very fruit-based protocol, again, doing different types of protocols, again, with the controlling, and again, still working heavily, going through, having the clients and doing all of the stuff, doing all the fitness industry stuff, the health and wellness stuff, and again, falling into more of a holistic version of a protocol, incorporating herbs and essential oils and different holistic type natural practices that you weren't really seeing in the industry at the time. You might be more now, but maybe not so much then. And then just continuing to evolve and to grow into where I'm at now, and then going through these different nutritional protocols. So again, the veganism, the raw veganism, fruitarianism, fasting protocols, juice fasting, water fasting, I've done them all. I've done keto, I've done high fat, low fat, all of it. So in this process, and sources here, sharing source codes, light codes, these are all light codes, this is what you're receiving. And then just still trying to fluctuate that in and out, especially the summer and spring were usually pretty easy for me because I would always gravitate to a lot of fruit. I loved a lot of fruit, a lot of watermelon. This is no joke. It's like almost an inside joke that like I could probably survive all year round, mostly on watermelon and juicy fruits. And so at some point I ended up deciding to go keto, which again, when keto became big, high fat, low carb. And for me, I thought there was something broken that I needed to fix, that the fruit was a problem. 222 on the timer, 2222 is significant. That's confirmation right there for sure that I'm on point. And it wasn't. So I again, keto became big. And so I went down the rabbit hole of doing keto, hardcore keto. Like I went fruitless for a long time. And that was the worst protocol that I could have done for myself. Did I get results? I got results with every single protocol I did, but there was always a massive rebound effect to it. Like you get the results, but then there was always this massive rebound effect. And now you're still trying to chase another thing and chase another thing. And it's just chasing another thing and chasing another fucking thing. And it's like, instead of just listening to what my human body, my avatar needed. And then probably at that time, there were some things that it needed at that time. But to continue on this journey, things started breaking down. And they were not sustainable. It was not a sustainable lifestyle, period. End of story. It was the worst thing I did. I mean, I was testing the blood sugar. I was still, and when I was doing keto, I started doing vegan keto first, and then I would do fasting. So then I got into fasting with the vegan keto, and then I fucked up my hormones. This is where we go into fucking up my hormones because I wasn't nourishing my body. And then I was being presented with content creators that were knowledgeable in what they were doing in their field at that time. And I would go into these protocols. And then, yes, I lost my cycle because I wasn't nourishing myself for another 6 months. And it was because of that. Over-exercising, too much fasting, eating a certain protocol, a whole host of things piled up, so I had to recover it. So how did I recover it? I didn't recover it at the time by taking pharmaceuticals. I recovered it by nourishing my body again. So again, does this resonate? Are you working out too much, fasting too much, doing certain protocols, doing these different things that you're trying to, and you end up creating a bigger problem? Then you do a solution. So I did recover it naturally, but it was by nourishing my body again. All right. And so, like I said, I did the keto, the vegan, and then so I transitioned about 2018, at the end of 2017 into 2018. I'm just going to give some, again, when I'm called to give time frames or years, I will give those. As I was January-ish, and at this time I had been seeing somebody who was completely wrong for me, and he'd been vegan for years, but a heavy alcoholic as well. So he was vegan, but he was an alcoholic. I never understood that. So that relationship kind of dissolved at that point. And then going into 2018, I felt called to start eating animal products again. And I really was getting the calling months before that, but I wasn't listening to my body. And my body just continued to slowly, I wouldn't say break down, but not be optimal. I wasn't functioning optimally. All right. And so I started incorporating animal products in 2018. January of 2018, I started incorporating eggs. And then I don't remember what came after that. But by the spring and I was still eating mostly plant-based for sure. Mostly a balance between the fruit and the cooked vegan and the raw vegan type stuff, trying to just go with that and try not to have so much control over that. But again, it ebbs and flows, and it goes in cycles on how much control there was, or binging, because they were still binging. Because I mean, if you keto, there was a lot of binging. There had been binging with all of the protocols, as well as restriction with all of the protocols. And the reason the binging happened is because you are not nourishing yourself enough. There's not a balance of proper vitamins, minerals, and nourishment in general, macronutrients and micronutrients. And so there was still that binge restrict thing going on, the restriction of calories, the over exercise, and it was still all there. So just slowly evolving into, by the spring of, I think I was still eating mostly vegan at that time with some eggs, I think. And by May of 2018, when I met my now significant partner, I kind of just surrendered to needing to go full omnivorous, like just eating the stuff, like enjoying life, eating things that I had restricted myself from eating because I thought they were whatever thought patterns I had at the time. So I went through this omnivorous stage up until 2024. And so basically going in different flows of eating different types of animal proteins and nourishing myself with different fats and different things. It was just ebbs and flows. And then we getting into doing Spartan races and long distance backpacking on the bikes, and then hiking, and just all sorts of these different outdoor activities that need a lot of nourishment. And just still going through the process of trying to control and restrict and binge and all of this, and still trying to find my way through this and in this journey with my physical body, and with the movement of my physical body, aka fitness, and or like the outdoor fitness activities like the hiking, the long distance cycling, and the running and the races and all of that, as well as the balance of the nourishing of my body as well with all of this activity. So it's been a journey when it comes to the nutritional aspect of it, for sure. And again, I would never change anything, because I've gained a lot of knowledge and wisdom and education with me, with myself, with my physical body along this process. So at the end of 24, so about, like I said, 2018 is where I kind of transitioned into more of that omnivorous. Between 2018 and 2024, there'd been different types of like protocols within protocols. And of course, counting calories still at the time, still tracking my food, tracking my macros, tracking my micros, and still either incorporating more carbs, more fat, more protein through these protocols, again, non-specific, through the just playing around in that period between 2018 and 2024, that I again had a call, like again, because I had started going through my spiritual awakening. I've been through many awakenings, but this has been like the biggest one for sure. And there may be more to come, but for sure this past end of 24 to now, where I was called again to stop consuming. I already started noticing I was having problems with beef and pork, and I wouldn't eat these a lot. Like, I was very mindful of that in the sense that I wasn't desiring to eat that. But then in 2024, I went full-blown high protein, which at that point, clearly I needed to do that. Got great results again. But the sun is really shining in today. And so got great results. But then by the end of 2024, after I went really, like the last protocol I did was high protein protocol. So I did the high fat protocol, I did the high carb protocol, and I did the high protein carb. So I've done all the protocols in that sense, okay? So the last ditch was high protein. Yes, I got great results. I felt good and all of that. But then by the end of in 2024 and then coming towards the end of 24, I was like starting to like just not eat pork, just not interested, had aversions to beef and to pork. And then all of a sudden during Thanksgiving, Thanksgiving was the last time I had turkey or like poultry. I guess you want to say that, poultry. And I think I'd already reduced or removed fish at that time. So it started with beef and pork, and then I became had a lot of aversions to that, just grossing me out. Again, just this is my body telling me. And at this point, it kind of settled in and allowed my body to slowly start telling me, instead of me telling my body, you're going to eat this, start listening to my body. And my body was screaming signs and symptoms for sure over the years. And now I was starting to listen and to hear and to pay my attention to that. Okay, does this resonate? Does this sound familiar? Okay. And so again, already had reduced the pork and the beef way earlier, and then like poultry and fish, and then dairy consumption, like cottage cheeses and things, because I was doing a lot of cottage cheese and yogurt. That was my protein source in December of 2024. And then by January of 2025, I had gone full-blown whole food vegan. Just like overnight. Like I didn't even have to think about it, because in the past it was a forced decision. It was like, I'm going to do this to get results. And now it's a decision because I'm listening to my body. It's my body's telling me this is what I need. So I went whole food vegan. And so I went into organic. Again, I always try to eat as healthily as possible when it comes to pesticides and herbicides, so get as much organic as possible. So organic soy, root vegetables, because it was winter, soy milk that's basically had no fillers or anything like that, but went very like soy based. Still holding on to that protein concept a little bit through that first 6 months or so, or 3 to 6 months of January or 2025, and just felt into, again, I was just feeling like sometimes it was too heavy. Like at times it felt satisfying and satiating and nourishing, but then sometimes it felt too heavy. And then by the time, of course, spring hits, if you know, I'm a watermelon girl. I will consume melons a week, not like one or two. We consume them 1 or 2 a day, or 1 or 2 every other day. So like up in a week, I could eat to 6 to 7 watermelons. And I am still able to get a few of them, which is really mind-blowing. So I am still consuming what I can consume if they're decent. But the majority of my nutritional protocol was fruit. So I went very high fruit, very vibrational. If you don't know this, fruit is one of the most high vibrational foods out there for you. And I really didn't eat a lot of the salads and things like that. I just, again, was just feeling into what my body needed to be nourished, and then reducing my meals down to not like I have to have a vegetable and a root and a protein. It just basically is either like more vegetables, more protein, or more fruit. It wasn't like what my old versions of self said would, if I was looking at this from the outside, from the old versions of myself, would say, oh, that's not balanced, that's not healthy or whatever. But at this point, I'm listening to my body more and more, and have this entire year. So the entire spring, summer, and fall, most of my nourishment came from less soy products, less soybeans, less tofu and tempeh and all of that, and more fruit, and maybe some root vegetables from time to time. Oats have been always big staple, whether it's old-fashioned oats, organic oat brands and things like that. And I would make a lot of muffins and things like that, or just have hot cereal, savory cereals, or sweet type-based cereals. And now I don't really share any type of nutritional protocol, because it's not meant for anyone to follow. It's my N=1. It's what works for me right now. And what works for me right now might not work for me in a week. What worked for me 6 months ago might not work for me now. Do you see where this conversation has come to? Okay. So hopefully, again, I really, really desire that this video reaches who it's meant to reach in exactly when you are meant to receive this. Okay. So there's something here for you. I know this in my soul. Okay. So I was meant to sit down and have this conversation before I cleaned up. I got into the shower. Like, I've been talking to the collective here now for over an hour and a half about nutrition and fitness. Not because I decided that's what I was going to talk to, because my higher self and source said that's what you need to talk about. You need to hit record, and you need to put this out now so we can reach those that it's meant to reach now. It's very, very important. So I'm like, okay, I work for source, so that's what I do. All right. So yeah, so that's been my nutritional protocols, and that's kind of how it's ebbed and flowed. But I still see people that I've known in the industry that are still producing content, or still trying to force content and force a specific lifestyle or nutritional protocol or exercise protocol that it's not working for them anymore, but they're still trying to produce content around that instead of honoring maybe that's not their true path or their path moving forward. That was their path then, but what's their path now? Okay. Yes, maybe their path now is to continue to create nutritional content or fitness content as part of their gift to the collective. But if it's being forced into trying to create a identity around that, an identity around that, maybe there's something there that you need to revisit and look a little deeper. And what type of healing do you need to do from past versions of yourself that are still unhealed, like the inner child, like the teenager, like the young adult, these different things that have put you in this position, or why you started doing these specific protocols in the first place. And again, they were meant to be done at that time, but are you still supposed to be following this type of protocol? Maybe you need to consume more animal products, and your body needs those for healthy healing, nervous system regulation, nervous system healing, nervous system recalibration, nervous system reset. But maybe you only need that for a little bit. And then then you're like, okay, I'm good. I'm gonna just listen to my body. What does my body need today? So for an example, today I've had greens powder with watermelon water, or coffee with soy milk and honey. And it's almost lunchtime. If you want to go by time, it's 11:30 here. So again, my eating in itself, I find that I am going longer periods of time with not eating. Again, following the circadian biology, stopping at a certain time naturally. But if I need something, I'll eat a little something. Again, not forcing. If I need to eat a little sooner, I eat a little sooner. If I need to eat a little less, I eat a little less. If I need a little heavier foods, I eat a little heavier foods. If I need to eat a little lighter, I eat a little lighter. But again, it's not because I'm telling myself or telling my body this is how I need to eat. It's like I'm listening to my body and allowing her, my physical avatar, to guide me into that. And if I question it, if my ego or mind is questioning it, then I go into things like muscle testing. There's many ways you can do muscle testing. You can get curious and go down that. I will use my pendulum as like a triple confirmation. Like I already intuitively know it's a yes or a no. It's just a knowing. And if you know, you know. And if my ego mind wants that extra confirmation, then it will do different specific kinds of muscle testing. And some people find that very helpful when it comes to nourishment, foods, fitness protocols, even supplementations, whether that's herbs or supplementations. Okay. So yes, currently I do take, like I said, a greens powder every day. I went back into, I think August, I was called to start taking amino acid tablets, which is basically what protein is when it's broken down into without all the work. So it's basically amino acids, everything that you need for nervous system and your muscles and your skeleton and all of that. And I've actually had great results with that. And I will continue to take that until I feel called not to take that, And so I don't worry about how much protein I get in a day. I don't worry how much carbohydrates I get in a day. I don't worry how much fat I get in a day or sugars. Again, I just go with the flow. And yes, if I want some plantain chips, I'll have some plantain chips. I had removed, nightshades, gluten, and so the two big ones were nightshades and gluten that I did also naturally just deviate from or just have no desire in for almost a year. And there might have been some little spurts in there where I might have some. Nightshades are tomatoes, potatoes, peppers, and eggplants. So again, and then gluten, we know what gluten is. But again, gluten here in the US is completely different than overseas. So understand that. So if you're doing it, why are you removing it? Why? Again, it's always go back to what's the why? What's your why? And then if you say it's because of this, then maybe you need to go a little deeper into what your why is. Go a little deeper, peel a little, another onion layer off and go a little deeper into what's your why, okay? And so basically we want to use time frame from the end of 2024 up until the end of 2025. I was 100% whole food plant-based as of January 1st, 2025. Now, the last 3 days or so of the month, 2 or 3 days of the month, me and my significant partner went on a getaway. We took a he booked us some time away, rich days away. I was basically disengaged from pretty much all social media stuff. I did pre-record some stuff. And I just, again, I asked my body, I said, you tell me if this is right, if we want this, talking about nutrition or not. And we're not going to, it's not going to be good, bad, ugly, whatever it is. It's just, it is, and just be. And be present and enjoy and honor that. And that's what I did. So I went into, and our date night, I had some fish and I had some shrimp for the first time in well over a year, because I hadn't had fish or shrimp in like probably 18 months or so. Also had corn is another big one. I just don't ever do corn. So corn, gluten, and nightshades were big ones that just naturally just shed away and fell away. So we had some corn chips, had some salmon and some shrimp, and some rice, which I don't eat very often, not a lot. And I was really full. Like, it was incredible, like how little I ate to feel full. But what I did now with the conscious intention, and what I do now is I bless my food and I cleanse my food. There's a reason for that. It's very powerful. So if that helps you, please look into that and get curious about the benefits of blessing and cleansing your food. If you get overly concerned about if it's organic or non-organic, if it's meat and things like that, honor that animal, okay, that's feeding you. You know, do a little prayer, bless it, and say thank you for nourishing me. I honor you, the cycle of life, all of that, okay? So that's very powerful, okay, very powerful, so that might help with that. I also had pastries and different things like that I hadn't eaten, and I didn't have any aversions or any problems. It was great. It felt great. It felt good to my body. It felt good to my soul. I didn't look at it because I hadn't eaten animal products in over a year, 11 months probably to be exact, that I didn't even question that this is what I wanted. I desired that 4-2 in the timer. So look at the 4s and the 2s. All right. So just knowing that I am that confirmation validation. So where are you at in this journey? Have you been forcing yourself to, I like to just use veganism because that's so dogmatic and it's so big out there, and it goes in waves and how big it comes. So let's say you're doing this vegan protocol, whether it's more raw vegan or cooked vegan or whatever you're forcing yourself, whatever box or paradigm you're trying to force yourself into. If you're called to have the eggs, have eggs from time to time. If you're called to have dairy from time to time, do that. If you're called to have any type of animal products, do that. Bless, cleanse, and set intentions with your food. And that's going to change the structure, the dynamic, and the field and the energy around that most people don't talk about in the fitness industry. And now that I'm more aware and I have the knowledge behind that, I have been doing that more. And just, let's say, I'm going to use grapes as an example because we know grapes is a dirty dozen. They're highly sprayed and stuff. So I use vinegar and baking soda to clean grapes. But lately I've been buying non-organic grapes. But what I do is I cleanse them with the vinegar and with the baking soda. But I also intentionally ask that anything that is not of benefit to our physical bodies, that it is removed and it's cleansed now instantly. I bless and cleanse the food for our highest nourishment, for the best of our bodies, and that if there's any toxicity or in there that that our bodies will remove it instantly, or that it is not even like absorbed it all. So does that make sense? So now I tried, and yes, I forget sometimes, but I try to remember to cleanse and bless my food and set those intentions and set that over my food and check into my breath, go into my 0 point and do this, just like structuring water and different things like that, asking for this to be of the utmost highest nourishment to help support my body, my mind, and everything that it's meant to nourish me in any way, shape, or form. And then whatever might be coming through this substance that is not of the highest and best for me, I ask for that to be released and not be allowed in the system. And if it makes it in the system, that it is detoxed in its own way with ease and grace. So hopefully that makes sense, and maybe that'll help you if you are struggling right now with the food. If you, like I said, if you've been doing this but you're being called to eat eggs or to have butter or to have these things that are technically not in this nutrition protocol, that that are not in this dogmatic aspect, that you be a terrible person, and whatever other stories you're telling yourself or you're allowing others to tell you in these paradigms, conditionings, and programmings, just honor your body. And it's, again, always come back, thank you, source, for that confirmation. Always come back to yourself, and it's, again, tapping into now having that knowledge of listening to your body more versus you telling your body what it needs. Now listen to your avatar, listen to your physical body, honor, this is your temple. It is not meant to disintegrate, get disease, and break down. But it will, energetically will do that and physically do that if you continue down certain paths in paradigms and programmings and conditionings that your soul is trying to tell you and redirect you into a different way, but you are not listening to it. And again, it's your journey, and the same path, even though redirected and detoured, will get you to the same spot at the end. But again, how much discomfort and dis-ease do you want along the ways? And again, I'm talking about discomfort and ease outside of actual discomfort and dis-ease. I'm talking about all of the other things that go along with it: your mental health, your physical health, your spiritual health, your energetic frequency and energy, and all of these things that are attributed to your food and your supplementation. Okay. And again, also, if you're going out to eat, that's another great way to bless and cleanse the food, because those that are preparing your food, you don't know what frequency or energy then, and that will get transferred. Okay. Making food with love, that's a legit thing. Like that, you know, that energy and frequency when you make stuff from this place of unconditional love, there is a difference in the food. But so if you're out eating out a lot, you're not just eating and consuming certain things that are potentially very highly toxic, but you're also consuming the energy and absorbing the energy and frequency of those that are preparing that food, because you don't know what they're going through or trials and tribulations and vibration that they're at. So be very, very mindful of that as well. And that's why a simple act of setting an intention, cleansing and blessing your food, praying over your food, whatever works best for you, will transform and transmute anything that you are not meant to receive from any outside things as well. So hopefully, again, this video, I'm going to say it again, that source, your team, my team, the universe will place this in the awareness of those that are meant to receive this in this now present moment as this now present self. Hearing clearly, feeling clearly, knowing clearly, bypassing the ego and mind anywhere that this needs to bypass the ego and mind, and to go a little deeper for you able to receive what you are meant to receive. From my heart to yours, I will talk to you soon. And just, again, continue to love yourself, quit hating yourself, go within, quit chasing what's without, because everything you need is always here, always will be, always has been. So if you're struggling with anything, outside of this video of wellness and in nutrition and fitness, always go within first and see what the true is here and what you truly need to do moving forward, because the answers are here. First and foremost, always, they are not outside of you. Okay, we are just here to share our stories, be guides, inspiration, teachers, way showers. Again, our way is not your way. Your way is your way, and you're perfect just the way you are. You're whole just the way you are, and we are stepping forward into something completely new. So again, please, please, please honor yourself and love yourself and take care of yourself. And again, from my heart to yours, I will talk to you soon. See you soon, beautiful souls. Bye.